if I could just recommend to anybody, doesn't matter what culture, race, creed, religion, ethnicity, it makes no difference, but especially to our African American brothers and sisters in the States, if you have not had a chance to go down to Africa, to go to Southern Africa or Western Africa, you need to. I went to South Africa back in 1999, and it was as a student, so I did an exchange program in South Africa. South Africa had just gone through this amazing drama, this drama we call the civil rights movement here in the United States. There was a movement for liberation of the people, the end of apartheid, the end of formalized racial segregation, forced separation of peoples. That was really recent and still prevalent in the minds of people. And when I was there in 1999, Nelson Mandela, that great leader that stood the test of time, that great grandfather of the Rainbow Nation, he was still president. And I was there when they transitioned from his government to the government of Thabo Mbeki. Still the same party, still the ANC, but I was there for that political transition. I went to school in KwaZulu-Natal. Many people might be too young to remember, might not have studied Shaka Zulu, but that was his region, that was his territory. And so that region was just full of Zulu-speaking peoples. One of the 9 different Bantu languages of South Africa. I went there because I think for every African American, Africa calls. We're definitely rooted in who we are and our culture in the States. But still, part of who we are comes from where we come from. And to go back to the motherland, just to experience that brotherhood, that sisterhood, that love, that, sometimes I feel that we've lost some of that in the States. It's just an experience that's unlike anything else that you can do in your life. It's like coming home to family. And I truly, truly love my experience there. And nowadays, a lot of students, in fact, some colleges, especially if you talk about your Harvards or your Princetons or your Browns or your William and Mary or your Gettysburgs, your Boston Universities, your USCs, really strong colleges, it's almost a requirement. I don't want to say it's a requirement, but it's almost a requirement that you at least take a semester abroad. For me, I don't think a semester is good enough. And so I decided that I was going to go abroad and study for a year. I had a hard time deciding, first of all, which country. And I decided South Africa was a very interesting place to go to because, for one, it did have, our Nobel Prize winning Nelson Mandela as its head. It did have such a recent history of racial discrimination and oppression. It was and still is one of the most powerful countries in the Southern Hemisphere, if not the most powerful country in the Southern Hemisphere, and most wealthy country in the Southern Hemisphere. But yet it had some of the most intense levels of poverty of any country in the Southern Hemisphere. There were just so many factors that drew me to that land. That I decided, if I'm going to study abroad, let me study abroad there. It all came together because the more I talked to some of the professors, the more I talked to our Office of Study Abroad at my university, the more I came to realize that we actually had an agreement with a school down there, the University of Natal in Durban. And if I am a student in Ohio, then I can go down to that school for the same tuition, same price, same everything. And so that sort of made that decision, that part of the journey, that much easier for me. I went down as a student, and I tell you, it was, there's just so many poignant experiences of my trip to South Africa. I don't know where to start. But I will tell you that if you ever give or given the opportunity to pass on advice to anyone, tell them that it is a must that they do make it down somewhere to either Southern or Western Africa. The spirit of love, the spirit of warmth, the spirit of humanity, what they call Ubuntu, is just so prevalent. It'll again shake you, and it'll remind you what life is really like and what life is all about.